dark prismarine, grey terracotta, black concrete, light grey glass panes. Oh, I'm gonna have you all. But there's got to be a better way than this. So last episode, we plonked down a giant Lego brick in our oversized garden, smashed a hole through the back and jammed in some dye farms. And as a result, we now have access to almost all the dyes, but we do still need black dye, and that will of course also then give us access to the greys. And for that, we're going to need to make a squid farm, and I have found the perfect, albeit very unlikely location to actually put one. But we're going to get to that in a short while, because first, there's a couple of things I want to do over here on our storage system. And what I want to do is to put in the loading system, just a basic one that's going to filter out the stackable items from the unstackables and also filter out shulker boxes. And that's going to start somewhere up here and will end over in this corner here. So it's going to be a weird little redstone contraption, I guess, to get this working, which will look something a little bit like that. And I know it looks really complicated, but I assure you it is. I mean, I can tell you what it does, but I might struggle to tell how certain bits of it work, which is why I didn't do it on camera in the first place. So at the top here, we have 3 different filters. This one here is for stackable items. This one is for shulkers, whether they've got stuff in them or not. And this last one is for unstackables, and they all get sent off in different directions. So the stackable items follow this route down, and they end up in this dispenser and go into the water stream. The shulkers, they will go down into this shulker unloader, and if there is anything in a shulker box, that will get unloaded once again into this water stream, and the empty shulkers will follow through as well, and any unstackable items go across the top and go down into this barrel here. The problem is, however, we might also have unstackable items in the shulkers, so once they've been emptied, we have to put them through another one of those filters at the top, and what this does is it will separate all the stackable items this way, all the unstackables will once again go through into this barrel here, and lastly, all of the empty shulkers end up in here. What I need to do now, however, is test it. The theory's good, but yeah, let's hope it works. So I'm going to dump some random stuff in this shulker. We'll put a couple of unstackable items in there as well as some stackables. We've got a couple of empty shulkers as well, and we'll put just a stack of terracotta in to give us some time to get downstairs. And hopefully everything's going to end up in the right place. So this is good. Stackable items are coming directly out the bottom there, and hopefully we haven't ended up with anything that shouldn't be in these. Good, good, good. Now let's keep an eye out for the shulkers. Oh, there they go. The first one was empty. The second one is emptying out now, and that should crush down once it's empty. And there we go. All the shulkers have gone through. So we don't have anything down here that is not stackable. That's good. We have our 3 empty shulkers in there. That's good. And we have our stackable items over here. Perfect. One last thing we didn't check, though, was this top filter for unstackable items. So let's just go chuck a pickaxe in. And hopefully that'll end up in the right place too. So as I was saying, let's chuck a pickaxe in there. Jeez. And pickaxe is in the right place as well. Perfect. So the basic unloading system is now in. All we'll need to do is pipe these off to storage somewhere, all the unstackable items. The shulkers, we're probably going to pump them into a big stack of chests somewhere as well, I guess. And everything else will go down a water stream that I'm yet to put in, but this actually links all the way around and goes down into our storage system. But that's enough boring redstone. Let's go get ourselves a dolphin. To rethink our strategy. This isn't working, and I've run out of name tags. But I do have some tasty raw fish. The gliding attempt was definitely better, but I think I just picked up a little bit too much speed, and eventually it broke. So maybe if I do that and swoop up every now and then, I might be able to make it over here. But as I say, I've run out of name tags, which was clearly another mistake. Should have name tagged it once I actually got it here safely. But as I say, we'll come back to that later. For now, we're going to build a squid farm. And we're not going to build it over there. We're actually going to be building it somewhere a little bit obscure, or at least somewhere I didn't really realize existed. But first, what do we know about squid farms? So squid will only spawn between Y50 and Y63, which means we need to do it at sea level. But not only that, we need to make sure that it's in either a river or an ocean biome. So I was looking around the area for somewhere nice to put one, and yes, that does look pretty good over there, but then I noticed this tiny patch of water here, and in here, as you can see, squid are spawning. And that got me thinking, why would they spawn there? And then I saw this little valley way here. And it turns out, if we press F3 and look at the biome, this is actually a river. This is a dried out riverbed, and it's right next to where we're building, which means we can have a squid farm right here. But what I do need to do is actually mark out the edges of the river biome. But as you can see, it is quite wide. It goes all the way out to about here somewhere. Here. So we've got a nice big area here where we can put a squid farm. Although the sun's going down, so we should probably nap first so we don't get explodinated. There we go. This should be much easier in daylight. So the first thing I want to do is actually mark out where the edge of the river biome is. This could be a little bit tedious because I need to basically go through block by block and mark where the edge of the biome is all the way around here until we've got pretty much a big enough area to actually build a farm. Well, it wasn't as painful as I was expecting, but I have marked out a nice wide bit of the river here where we should be able to put our squid farm. There is plenty more river that way, but it gets a little bit narrow. But here, there should be plenty of space. So what I'm going to do now is mark out a square where we're actually going to put the farm. We'll see how we can fit one in here, and then we're going to get to some digging and draining and all sorts to try and make this work. I've marked out a square. This should be plenty big enough for our squid farm, but now we need to decide what farm we're actually going to do, because there's a number of ways we can capture and kill the squid here to actually collect the ink sacs. So one option would be to use axolotls. They do kill squids, and then we could collect the ink sacs that way, but that just doesn't seem very efficient. We could do a logical Geek Boy style farm with portals and send them through to the nether, but because this is so close to our base area and we are going to have a portal around here somewhere connecting to where we actually do want to go into the nether, having a portal to a kill chamber just seems like a dangerous thing to do. So we're going to be avoiding that. So that's going to leave us with the old fence drop trick. And I think we're going to do a farm which you probably all know. It's a very straightforward one by Il Mango that just involves tall columns of water and a kill chamber at the bottom where they die to full damage. It is going to involve a lot of digging, but I think it's going to be the simplest and most efficient farm for us in this particular location. So I guess the first step is to dig out a great big hole, and we need to make sure that we actually fill in the water here as well, because that's just going to get in the way. A short while later and the squid hole is now complete. I've also lined the edge with some stone brick just so I don't accidentally dig into it in future should I be doing anything else around here. And I've stopped at this level because this is the top level that squids can spawn. We'll worry about hiding the farm later, but for now we do want to get it working. So the next step is to mark out where I'm going to be putting the columns of water. So let's see if we can find the center point and get this marked out. So let's just mark where the water's going to go with some wool for now. So that was fairly straightforward. All of these orange bits of wool will actually be columns of water, but what we need to do now is to go down here and put in some fence posts to actually make sure they stop. Otherwise, they're just going to go on forever and ever, and we certainly don't want that. So I need to build up to layer 50 because they won't spawn below that anyway. And in fact, to make my life a bit easier here, I'm going to put in a quick temporary floor. So I've matched the grid down here to what we've got up there. At least I think I've perfectly lined them up. That should be fine. And what we now need to do is put a fence on the bottom of every single block. And then we need to make sure that all of these are open. And then we need to put a fence gate on every single side of these blocks as well. The mess of gates is now ready, so let's add some water and see if it works. It looks like we've got all the fence gates in correctly. No water is leaking or anything like that, and they all appear to be open, so we should be able to remove this floor. And it looks like we're getting some squid already as well, which is good. But let's quickly remove this floor, and then we'll work on a collection system. Just went off to make myself a cup of tea and left this running, and as you can see, it's definitely working. We are having many squid fall down. In fact, it's a lot faster than I expected, which is marvellous. I haven't even drained out all the water in the area yet, and to be honest, the amount of squid spawning in, I don't think I'm going to need to. So for a collection system, what we need to do is not just run around the bottom here picking it all up, but instead I think we're going to put down a minecart hopper collection system and have that going around and just dump everything into a chest for now. And then we need to figure out how we're going to hide this thing. We're making some progress down here. I've managed to get all the rail in. The minecart goes back and forth, picks everything up, and then when it gets to the end, it comes all the way back again. And what I've done is I've put in a minecart unloader over here. So if we have a quick look in the back here, we can just see there's a very simple minecart unloader. And then we've also got a dropper down there, which then sends everything into this water stream and up to the surface. Although something else I could do with is a route for me to get up to the surface, because currently there isn't one of those, but we'll tackle that in a little while. So up on the surface, here, we've got this monstrosity of a collection unit, and this is what we now need to hide, as well as, of course, the squid pond itself. And I use the word pond because I think we should be able to get away with doing something a little bit sneaky here. And that's going to involve a bunch of trapdoors and a couple of buckets. So my thinking is I should be able to get away with covering all these up with trapdoors because they're not solid blocks, which means squid will still spawn. But because this level is actually the first level where squid can't spawn, in theory, I'm hoping I can just flood the whole area and turn this into a small pond. Now, I do have other ideas of how we can hide the rest of this as well, but we'll get to that shortly. First, let's test this out. Step 1's complete. We've got the lake in, and no squid seem to be spawning anywhere else. So I've sort of flown around the area a little bit just to check, but the squid are only spawning in the columns, which is exactly what we wanted, which means this is going to work exactly how we had hoped. However, it looks very square, it looks very horrible, and we need to make it fit in with everything a little bit better. So I'm going to grab a bunch of coarse dirt. We'll probably get some mud as well, a bit of soul sand, who knows. It's very wet over here, so I think using actual mud blocks would make more sense. And then we need to remove this monstrosity and put something else there to hide the storage. Well, it's not a bad start, but it's going to need a lot more work than that. But what I want to do is actually try it and get in the bit where we're going to be hiding the collection point for this. And it's actually going to be a few blocks set back from where it's coming up at the moment, so we're going to have to solve that problem as well. But what I want to do is put in a giant pipe that's sort of being exposed from the ground a little bit. And my thinking is we can then hide the storage inside it, and we can put a small crack in the pipe, and that's what's going to be leaking into this tiny little pool over here, because we've got to bear in mind scale. This biscuit is huge. And the sun's gone down again. Jeez. I need to plan my clip recording better so I don't have to sleep halfway through them every time. So as I was saying, we're going to put in a nice big pipe here. We're going to sort of blend that into the landscape over the back here. So we're going to need a lot more dirt and coarse dirt built up as well. And once we've got that in, hopefully that's going to set the scale for this side a little bit better. And we can then see exactly how far we really need to push out this mud, because I think it's going to have to go out a lot further than that to make it look good. So I need to go inside the suite over here, make myself a bunch of grey concrete. But before I can do that, I really need to heal my tools. So I guess you're probably going to see another short time lapse of me building a big tube. And there we go, one very basic looking pipe, and I think that's probably about right scale wise. It's not too big for the biscuit or anything like that, and it's also not too small. And I think what we're going to do is put a big hole in the side of it. We're going to have water dribbling out, and that's what's going to fill up our little pool here. But first up, I need to blend this into the landscape a bit more and give it a bit of texture, and I need to figure out how we're actually going to pump this stuff into there without it looking weird. To go with the landscaping, but the pipe is looking a lot better. I've mixed in a combination of stone, tuff, and a little bit of the old moss and mossy cobble, and I think that really does help make it blend in a little bit better. I've also sorted out the inside, and this is a very simple collection system. It's just a bunch of chests and hoppers, but if these ever do fill up, or if there's just too much coming through, then the excess will get burned, so hopefully this won't ever back up. And then I've just added a bunch of water either side because, well, it is a pipe after all. So the next step's going to be to add some foliage and some decoration around here, and maybe even a mushroom or two. like that. I think that's coming out really, really well. And the mushrooms especially. I took a bit of a gamble on those. I didn't really know how to do mushrooms, but I think they've come out quite well. And it's nice to have a bit of variation in the landscape, so we'll probably use those in a few of the other sort of damper spots as well. But I also really love these little fireflies we've got going on and some other little flies going around. But overall, this just really ties in. You'd never know there was a squid farm under there, apart from the weird checkered pattern down there. I also removed a bunch of the trees that were on this slope, but we've got a long way to go to get rid of the rest of them, because they really do sort of destroy the scale of what's going on over here. And I've managed to get a bit more coarse dirt down around the back here, but we do need to get a lot more, and we need to actually texture the ground here as well. So yes, still lots of work to do, but very pleased with how it's coming along so far. And the good news is the whole time we've been up there building, we've also been collecting ink and a bit of salmon, it would seem. And no idea where that piece of bone meal's come from. So with our squid farm looking good and this area building up quite nicely, I guess it's time to try and get that dolphin again, isn't it? I really need to get one in my storage system. And I still don't think I've even told you why yet, but we'll get to that when I finally get one over here. I think I did it. I think I did it. Yes. We finally have a dolphin over here. Welcome, Mr. Dolphin. And now he's here, we need to make sure we don't lose him. So let's give him a little bit of light, make sure he's got some air, but also make sure there is nothing he can jump up and land on, and he can't jump out of the pool altogether. There we go. That should do the trick. And you, sir, are going to come in very useful next episode, because sadly, we've run out of time for today, but I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye now.